Welcome into Ride the Line, the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We are riding today on a Wednesday, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man, the people in the room. G Money Grant Mitchell, how you doing?
I'm doing really good, Tanner. You know why? You know why I'm doing really good? We got 1 week until March Madness. One of the most exciting times of the year to be a sports fan. I can't wait. Shout out to all my people below my southern border. I live in Virginia, so all the people down there in North Carolina, congratulations on being able to bet online for the first time. It's kind of wild that North Carolina legalized retail betting in 2019, didn't pass online until 2024, but I'm happy that all you guys can be able to bet on the tournament here.
Definitely. North Carolina, huge state. If you guys want any promo for every single book in North Carolina right now, check out WSN.com. I know DraftKings is doing bet 5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. I think FanDuel's right in that same area. Every book has a special promo. They're doing like no sweat bets basically, where I think it was in one of the college games last night. If a team scored 1 point, which obviously they're going to score 1 point, you're going to double your money. And it was a $50 max bet. So a lot of cool stuff is going on in North Carolina. And we have the promos at WSN.com. Just click the link. It's going to take you right there to sign up.
Yeah, I saw one. I think it was for the Charlotte Hornets. If the Charlotte Hornets score a point, then you win money, which made me harken back to if Aaron Rodgers gets 1 passing yard tonight, you get $500 or whatever it was. And of course, that's got to be the most unsuccessful promo in history because that didn't happen.
That's amazing. Yeah. But again, I will say this. If you had to bet on a player or a team, like 1 point in basketball is going to happen 100% of the time. 1 passing yard, you never know. Like even going back to the Justin Herbert to throw a touchdown DraftKings promo, which is still, that's a wild promo. Like he did in 27 straight games, but like there's no guarantee you're going to throw a touchdown on any given night. It's still hard to score points in the NFL.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head if there's a game that just ended at like 2-0. I know Shaq pulled down the backboard right at the start of a game, but I think they fixed it and they finished that game out. After we get off here, I'm probably going to look that up to see what is the earliest a game has ever been called off.
Lowest scoring games, but then that would avoid like if they didn't play the full game and all that. But if you're playing a full 48-minute game, you're getting a point for sure. If you don't, shouldn't be in the NBA. Anyways,
You
guys,
shouldn't be in high school, shouldn't be in middle school.
no, I think do you think a high school team could score a point against an NBA team?
Is the NBA team trying as hard as they possibly can?
They're not playing like all-star level. Like they're gonna give up in the fourth quarter like they always do. They could score 1 point, probably.
Are they giving effort they would give like in a normal game?
They're going to let them, they're going to play it the same way. So they're not going to like full court press. Like the high school team can get the ball up the court.
I would say the high school team could score 1 to 2 baskets in 48 minutes.
Yeah, but I still think they could score. Like you get a wide open look or something, like guys coasting. Like you're going to play it the same way. You're not going to play it like it's hard. The goal is to not let them score at all.
Yeah, I find it funny sometimes the differences between the sports because you could probably put if you take a team of the best 15-year-old soccer players in the world, it's probably more competitive against the pros than like the best 15-year-old football players or the best 15-year-old basketball players. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think football obviously you can't even put it on the same level.
It's just too physical, yeah.
Too physical of a game. Soccer, you could do that. Like basketball, I think if you took like the McDonald's All-American team and put them against the NBA team, they could probably score a few points because they could get the ball up the floor with their ball handling. They're not physical enough, but they're going to make shots if they get an open look here and there. So they definitely could not put up a fight by any means. They couldn't play in the paint, but they could definitely make shots when they get open looks and they could dribble. So that's huge.
Yeah.
Like if you take a JV high school team that can't dribble, like they're not going to score.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And it's fitting we're talking about basketball because NBA, college basketball, busy time of year. I know that you've been doing – did you have Gonzaga? It wasn't yesterday you had Gonzaga, right? It was Monday.
Monday we had Gonzaga. Did Gonzaga lose last night? I didn't even watch
Yeah, they did. They lost by, I think it's either 7 or 9 to St. Mary's.
Well, it's hard to beat a team. I feel like I think they lost to St. Mary's this year once already. Could be wrong about that. I don't pay attention to the West Coast Conference, but we had Gonzaga in the semifinal. We knew they'd cruise there. We got a lot of day college basketball today. I have no day game plays right now, though. I have 2 night game plays, which we'll break down here. But Grant, why don't you get us started with an NBA play?
Okay, yeah. So yesterday I was going to take the Atlanta Hawks at -2. This morning I'm going to take the Atlanta Hawks at -3.5. You're seeing line moving in the favor of these guys, and I think with good reason. I mean, the Portland Trailblazers, if you want to go by net rating, they've been one of the worst teams pretty much this entire season. That hasn't changed since the All Star break. They're 22nd in net rating coming out. Shaden Sharp isn't going to be able to play as he hasn't been for the last few weeks or so. And then you look at the Atlanta Hawks. It's weird because they lost their best player in Trae Young. And I'm not saying this as a criticism of Trae Young because I think he's one of the most undervalued players in basketball, but they look better without him. And I think a major reason for that is they've finally solidified their defensive identity. Now, the offense has taken a step back, but it hasn't necessarily been awful. But then the defense has just improved so much because the smallest guy on the court now is DeJounte Murray, who's known earlier in his career, at least as a good defender. He's 6'4", 6'5", long arms. So you can go over, you can take him, you can switch him on the back line with some of these other guys, Jalen Johnson, and I know Big O hasn't been playing, but these guys are just very malleable and switchable, and it's made their defense a lot more fluid. So the Hawks are playing really good basketball. They're 8th in net rating since the All-Star break, and I think they keep that going. I know Portland's at home, but that really doesn't offer much of a home court advantage when the team is terrible and they can't make shots. I don't know. They're either 29th or 30th in field goal percentage. It's them in Memphis battling for the bottom spot pretty much all year. But yeah, long story short, I think the Hawks get this one done.
Yeah, I mean, the Hawks are 13 and 18 on the road. They're not a good road team, but with that being said, you got the Trailblazers who are also 10 and 23 at home. So I'll play the hot hand here. Hawks 3-2 in their past 5 games. The Trailblazers are just 1-4. So good play here, Grant. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tanner.
Now, speaking of dog water programs, like you want to talk about the definition of a dog water program, it is the Michigan Wolverines. They are terrible. I don't know what's happened to them. That's one of the biggest fall offs in basketball history. But they have lost. Let's see how many games in a row they've lost. They've won 2 times since December 19th. So just to give you a rough estimate, that's
Are they the team that like never covered in their losses?
if you've bet against them, you have covered 77% of the time this season betting against them. Like that's
And
how
I think that number's even higher if you bet against them in their losses. I think they didn't. I know like the first 18 games of the season they didn't cover in a loss.
I don't have that number in front of me, but I'm sure it's got to be accurate because they're a terrible basketball program. Like they probably have not covered once in a loss, and they're getting big numbers too. But anyways, today Penn State is a 6.5-point favorite, and Penn State's not a good basketball team. They're 15 and 16. They're 9-11 in the conference, but they're much better than Michigan. Michigan doesn't want to play hard. They give up. They coast on defense. This team's giving up 80 points per game on defense. That comes down to effort. Like when you are giving up that many points, you just simply don't want to play basketball. That's not a team that I want to bet on in this spot. It's going to take a really good effort from Penn State. Again, they're not the most talented team in the world. I think they're a lot better than Michigan. Ace Baldwin Jr., player to watch for them, doing 14 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, 6 assists, only shoots 39% from the field. It's going to be an ugly offensive game. Both teams around 44%. There's not a ton of defense here. It's just going to be like fast, quick possessions. It's going to look as close to a mid-major basketball game as you probably can get in the Big Ten tonight. But I still think Penn State pulls off the cover. Looking at some of the KenPom rankings, Penn State is 77th overall, and Michigan's bad. They are 126. So going to go with Penn State here. I think they cover 6.5. You can't argue with that 77% stat.
Yeah, you definitely can't. And Michigan's also just 3-17 against the conference. I guess the worry for Penn State is Kanye Clary, the leading scorer, giving you more than 16 a night, hasn't played in a month. So that's probably the big concern. But it doesn't matter who plays for Michigan. They just don't win games. 15 games below 500. Again, 3-17 in the conference. And they lost to Penn State earlier this year at home by 6 points. And got to keep in mind, that was a long time ago. That was before Michigan was defeated. You know, they thought they were bad earlier. Now they know they're bad. Now that their record's 8-23, they don't have much to play for. So I think you're on the right side of this one.
I'll say this. Last night, ladder challenge, we had Miami going against Boston College. We took Boston College. The line moved towards Miami. Everyone was on Miami, and Boston College won. And people were like, well, Miami turns it up in the tournament. Like, they know how to win the tournament. Like, no, just because they went to the Final Four last year, they lost 9 straight games. They want the season to be over. They're not going to turn it up in the tournament.
It's kind of remarkable how this fall off that Miami's had. They weren't a great team at the start of the year, but 9 straight games to close the season. I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Yeah, now 10. with that conference loss last night. So just really, really bad. But anyways, Grant, second NBA pick.
Yeah, why not? Why don't we talk about the NBA Finals rematch? The Denver Nuggets against the Miami Heat. The Nuggets are 4.5-point road favorites. And just like the Hawks pick, this line has ballooned 1.5. It was only -3 when I was looking at it yesterday. But for the second time here today on the show, I'm going to take the road favorite. I think Miami's still a very dangerous team come the playoffs. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're still trying to ingratiate Terry Rozier into their system. You've seen teams like the Wizards did it a lot, weirdly, which is funny because the Wizards are awful, but they're just hunting him out, Rozier out in switches. They're treating him almost like you do at a playoff series where you basically say, okay, this one guy, we're going to play him off the court. Like with the Utah Jazz, it was Rudy Gobert, where we're going to switch around until we have Rudy Gobert guarding James Harden or Steph Curry, and that's not going to work. And then like when the Cavs with LeBron played the Warriors, it was like, okay, where's Steph Curry? We're going to hunt him in the pick and roll. With the Heat, it's been Duncan Robinson in the past somewhat. Now it's Terry Rozier. But the bottom line is the initial experiment has not been as positive if they would have been hoping for. They're also missing some players due to injury. Bam is playing very well, but he's being asked to do so much. And when you're going against Nikola Jokic, that's a guy that it doesn't really matter what you do. There is no answer. There's simply no answer for him. Jimmy Butler is not necessarily playing the best basketball. He started to turn it up, but he's taken, I don't want to say nights off, but he's taking his foot off the gas a little bit. Look, I expect the Heat to give a great effort here, and they are pretty decent in their home building, but this is Denver. They've been a bad road team by their standards for most of the season. Not the case. They're 3-0 on the road since the All-Star break. I believe they're either 8-1 or 9-1 straight up during that time too. They're just playing really good basketball right now. I think they want to send a message. They did it against the Celtics, the team that people view as the other championship contender. Now I think they go on the road and say, hey, we know that we met you guys in the finals last year. Don't expect it to go any different this time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the injuries for Miami, like Tyler Hero is not going to play tonight. Kevin Love, who doesn't give you a lot, but he gives you a little bit, is not going to play. And then Jimmy Butler is a game time decision as well. So Miami's definitely up against it. If you got it at 2.5, I feel a lot better than 4.5, but still like the number for the Nuggets no matter what.
Yeah, and I would also probably play the over on Jokic's number point total here, 24.5. Again, Bam's great. Bam's great. Don't get me wrong, but this feels like a game where he's going to take over. And so, yeah, I like the Nuggets and I like Jokic.
All right, Grant, we're ready to wrap it up with a little college basketball pick.
Yeah, let's hear it.
NC State against Syracuse tonight. This is going to be a very competitive game in the ACC tournament presented by T. Rowe Price, second round. Looking at Syracuse here, Syracuse opened at -110 about, I believe. They're up to -125. So the public is coming in on them pretty heavy in this spot. I do think the spread continues to jump. It's -1.5. I think it gets up to 2.5. I think it's already up to 2, in fact, on some books here. But looking at this Syracuse team, they're 20-11. They're 11-9 in the conference, going against a respectable NC State team at 18-14, but just 9-11 in the conference there. When it comes down to some of the basic stats, Syracuse and NC State very similar. They're each scoring 76 points per game. Syracuse slightly worse on defense, but Syracuse is more efficient from the field. They're shooting 46%. NC State shooting 44%, which does make a difference. Also, how these teams have played as of late. Syracuse is 4-1 in their past 5. NC State's just 1-4, coming off a win against Louisville on March 12th. But yesterday in the first round, 94-85, but still not a team that I want to go here. Syracuse is coming off a little bit of rest, and I think that's going to mean something coming into this one against an NC State team that really doesn't play a lot of defense.
Yeah, when these teams played earlier in the year, Syracuse was able to win that game by 12 points. Granted, this is a neutral venue, but they held the Wolfpack to 35% from the field, 32% from three. Syracuse shot 45% and 39% in that one. J.J. Starling and Judah Mintz, the backcourt combo for Syracuse, combined for 46 points. Judah Mintz on his own had 9 assists. So, yeah, I think you look at the guards here, this NC State team can be athletic and pesky. You know, they can make plays. But overall, Syracuse is the much better team. So I think you definitely got to trust them in this win and move on sort of situation.
Yeah, definitely. And the ACC is going to come down to Duke and Carolina probably again. But it's nice to let the little guys play for a little bit, have some fun in the first and second rounds before you got to face Duke and Carolina and get serious. So should be a good game, but I'm definitely on Syracuse there. My favorite play out of my 2, though, is Penn State -6.5 against Michigan because Michigan's dog water.
Yeah, Michigan is terrible. Can't argue with that.
No. Anyways, Grant, that was a Wednesday, March 13th edition of Ride the Line.
Yep, it was. And thank you all so much for tuning in, everybody. Like I said earlier, Tanner and I are going to be here throughout March Madness. I'm guessing we'll have a little reaction show to Selection Sunday on Monday. And of course, we'll probably preview, look at some of the picks that are coming up ahead. Maybe we'll even talk some first four. But yeah, I'm excited. It's one of the best times of year.
Yeah, next week, guys, we'll probably all three shows will be March Madness related. So we'll get in, break down the bracket, talk about our favorite bets, talk about the games you should look at, the underdogs, the hungry dogs, Cinderella potentials, everything you want to know, guys. That'll be next week on Ride the Line. So make sure you tune in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Check out the YouTube channel, WSN.com, and we'll see you next time for another episode of Ride the Line.